how's the final score going to look in the newspaper? I feel like that was a motivating factor at some level. 38-24 looks worse than 31-24. Let's just punt, and they run the clock out, and we just get the hell out of here. Maybe we stop them. I don't want to say it was a complete surrender, but it was man, if we don't get it here, they're going to be up 38-24, and that's not going to look good. That's going to look like they stomped us. That's the final verdict on the game, 38-24, and it ended up being 38-24 because the Lions went right down the field. Because what did they do on 4th and 2 from near midfield, right around the 2-minute warning? And that was gutsy, but that is Dan Campbell. And it wasn't just gutsy to go for it. It was gutsy to do play action and throw the ball down the right sideline for the knockout punch. That was it. That was that. That was unbelievable. And then, boom, right after that, David Montgomery busts it, and that was the night 38-24. It's over. It's done. But multiple layers of big onions, as Troy Aikman said last night, of Dan Campbell, to both go for it there and because you're up 7. You're up 7. 10 years ago and all the years before that, it would have been incomprehensible to think that a head coach up 7 with 2 minutes left in the game, facing 4th and 2 from his own 49, would go for it. And now it's kind of like, yeah, okay, we get it. And with Dan Campbell, it's like, well, of course they're going for it. It would be a surprise if they punted. It's just amazing how the shift has happened and how we view decisions that are made by coaches during football games. And it helps when you have the execution and the players to convert in those moments. And the confidence becomes more confidence. And I think that confidence by Detroit's offense becomes a sense of pessimism by the defense that they're gonna do this. And they did it. And that was a gutty call and great execution and a great throw by Jared Goff in a huge spot. And there it was. And that was it. And that ended it. 4th and 2, play action over the top. And I mean, seriously, if you pull anybody from the 80s, the 90s, even 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and you tell them this is what is common now, they'd say, you're nuts. That's not common. That defies convention. And analytics have helped defy convention, and Dan Campbell defies all of them.
Yeah, I mean, right before that, after their 3rd down stop, they go to commercial. And I'm texting some of my guys in the group chat. I'm like, I think they're going to go for this. Like, nah, no way. I think, because again, I think Dan Campbell, whether you agree or disagree, I think he goes by how he's feeling the game is flowing. And I think for him, it was like, we can't give that offense another opportunity. Like, our defense has played well. We can't just punt the ball back and say we hope we get, like, I just think he felt like Lamar had like one magical drive left in him to go tie the game up. And I think he's like, on the road, we can stick a fork in them right now. Like, we can finish this game. And again, I go back to Shepard on the defensive side as a defensive coordinator and Morton on the offensive side. We've all had something to say about how is this going to work, new coordinators, new coaches. When the moments came for both sides, both units to make the plays, they dialed them up perfectly. It was the call that you want. It was the defense getting set on the goal line. It was all of the little things that they needed. They were ahead of the curve. Like you just said, it's not about always going for it on 4th down. It's what play do you have drawn up? And right there, they basically said, we're going to take our best versus your best. And Marlon Humphrey comes in. It's 4th and 1. He got his eyes in the backfield. He's looking to see how he can show up on the run. Right there, St. Brown runs right by him. Like, it's those moments, it's those plays that you call. Because even, 2 weeks ago now, when Liam Cohen went for it on 4th down, he got the ball at his best, Brian Thomas Jr., and he drops the ball. So, like, it's that and how your guys execute, how they come through. And I think for the Lions, in those moments, it didn't seem like anybody, I know they were breaking and going to commercial. It didn't seem like anybody stared at the sideline or started walking towards the side, they all got back in the huddle. I think everybody on the Lions offense knew they were going for it. And I think it's something to that when you build your team a certain way that the guys are ready to go and they know what you're thinking. That's all you can ask for in a coach, and you could see that last night with the Lions.
But, it's a great thought by you that Dan Campbell's looking at the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. The offense had been sputtery, but they still finished the game with 30 points. They still had their moments. And you're right. You give the ball back to Baltimore, as poorly as things had gone overall, you're down 7 points, and you have a chance to take it down the length of the field, score a touchdown, and maybe do the Dan Campbell thing and go for 2 and win the game, not even go to overtime. So that's just one of the many factors that are in the mind of the coach, and some of them can be articulated, and some of them are just gut feeling, but it is the culmination of everything you've ever done in your football life when you are the head coach and you're on the sideline in that moment in that game. And the analytics is driven by this idea that if we repeat it 1,000 times or 10,000 times or 100,000 times, the tiny little margin difference is going to be you should do this versus this. But when you're in that moment, everything comes into play. And I've heard different coaches explain this over the years. It's how many points are being scored generally that night? Is it an offensive game? Is it a defensive game? Dean Pease, who was with you in New England for a long time, he explained that at one point. If it's a 6-3 game, I'm looking at it differently than if it's 36-33. How's their offense doing? How's our defense doing? What kind of play do we have that we'll use in this spot? If you're going for it on 4th and short near the end zone, well, that's basically a 2-point play. How many 2-point plays have we repped? How many do I feel good about? Which one do I want to use here? Do I have any left this week that I feel good about that I can execute? And that gets back to what the Lions did. Another big onions move from Dan Campbell, the first play of the fourth quarter in a tie game. 4th and 1 from the Baltimore 4, no big deal. And, my son and I were having a debate last night about trick plays because he thinks that, why do you got to do trick plays? Why don't you just run your plays? Well, if you can execute a trick play well, it's really not a trick. It's not a trick. It's just a play. It's like saying the tush push doesn't look like football. Well, does this look like football? No. But if you can run it, yes. If you can put a receiver in the backfield who takes a handoff that's immediately pitched to Jahmyr Gibbs and just has everyone wondering where the hell are we? Where's the ball? What do we do? If you can perfect it, if you can rep it to the point where it is part of football, then it is part of football. And it's not a trick play. It's just a creative formation and a creative application of the rules in a way to create the kind of mismatch you're looking for. So a fast guy on the outside can get the ball and get to the pylon and score the go-ahead touchdown. So, but circumstance, 4th and 1, confidence in your players and execution by the players of that play in that moment. And that, look, hey, we've all been, and I think it's fair to be curious about what the Lions are going to look like with 8 assistant coaches gone. But the one most important guy is still there, and it's Dan Campbell, and he's the guy that pulls it all together. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the spoon at the bottom of the kettle of stew, and he's moving it around, and he's making it all happen. And we see that they can, and I think that's the most encouraging sign of the past 2 games, because after week 1, they had to be thinking, what the hell, when they got smacked by the Packers. But when they do what they did to Ben Johnson and the Bears, and then they go on to Baltimore and completely flip that 38-6 from last year, and it's 38-30, they beat the Ravens in their own building, they got to be feeling as good, if not better, than they have in recent years. Because that's the thing, for all the stuff Ben Johnson did, he only scored 6 points against the Ravens in Baltimore. John Morton scored 38.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, because especially going back to the trick plays is when Baltimore's defense, when you go off on the sideline and now we all see it, right? You take out the surface and you're looking, you kind of go, damn, they got us. Like that's a good play call. Like we don't have enough for that. Like we can't They have, a formation we've never really seen with St. Brown in the backfield, with Gibbs. All right, so we got somebody on one side leveraging St. Brown if he comes out that way, another guy over here, but they both came to the same side, got the handoff, then he, goes to an option play. Like, those to me are the little things you come into the game with and you say, hey, we're going to have these plays. If we need them, we're going to call them. If not, we'll save it for the next time. If you remember, the Chiefs and Andy Reid, they used to always have some funky formation they would get into at some point when they had the ball down there in the goal line in the red zone that they would use, and it would be impossible. It'd be so hard as a defense. And I remember we had a check. We would come into the game and we tried to map out that a lot of the plays, just like that play, ended up somewhere going to the defensive left, offensive right, with some kind of trick play element in it. And we had a call that we would say, hey, if they get in any funky huddle or they come out of the huddle fast, like whatever we're in, everyone's going to start yelling this check, call it Chiefs check or Lions check. And we would check into a defense that we thought gave us the best chance to stop that play instead of trying to get into a man-to-man, or it'd be a hybrid between man and zone, and everybody would have different rules on how to challenge that play. And that's what Detroit, that's the pressure they put. And again, is that Ben Johnson? Is that Morton? Or is that just Dan Campbell saying we need to have these things? I know these things make it hard on the defense. I know these things give us an advantage as an offense or as a defense. So credit to them, because that to me is something that the Ravens don't have right now, something to break a tendency, something to be a little different that the team wasn't planning for all week, that now all of a sudden at the drop of a dime, you have to try to stop. In this league, when you have so many people digging into the film and they're watching, they're studying, when you can put in a little wrinkle that they haven't seen before, it's really hard to stop. So you put a few of those wrinkles in every week, it'll give you an edge in a close game like that. And I thought that was a play. As soon as I saw it, I was like, damn, just smiled, because that's a good play, and it's hard to stop when it's executed the right way.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.